Yo, this is Jay from Straight Smoke Gaming, and in today's video, we're going to be going over ranking every NFL team starting tight end. If there's a committee, I graded them as both. We're going to talk about the reasoning here. We did this for running backs and wide receiver cores, so that'll be linked down in the description. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and check those out. Me and Orb, we have a lot of fun making these videos, but let's go ahead and get right into it. 32 here, I got Bretton Strange of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and he just really hasn't gotten a shot. Evan Ingram was there last year. Now, Ingram did deal with some injuries, I believe, but just we haven't really seen much from Strange. He's been in the league a couple years now, hasn't really did much, and I want to, before we get more into this, these first couple guys, they're all kind of in the same tier. I mean, you could really maneuver them anyway, and I wouldn't argue with you, but this is just how I put it. 32, Bretton Strange, kind of a question mark, don't really know. At 31, I have Theo Johnson of the New York Giants. And the reason I have him here is because, it does seem like rookie quarterbacks do tend to like tight ends a little bit more. And if Jackson Dart we could see a little bit of an uptick in Theo Johnson's production. But overall, what we've seen from him over the past couple years, nothing too special. You could put him at 32, and I wouldn't argue with you. If you wanted to bump him up a little bit, I'd be okay with that too. But I do think Theo Johnson has the potential to have an all right year. At number 30, I have Mason Taylor, rookie for the New York Jets. Now, if you're asking why he is above the other two, is mainly because we kind of know what we're getting with Theo Johnson and Bretton Strange. We don't know with Mason Taylor. I mean, his dad was in the NFL, good tight end at LSU. There's an opening on the Jets. I mean, they need another wide receiver, or second option, I guess. Garrett Wilson, and that's about it. So there is a path for Mason Taylor to actually be a pretty okay tight end. Only time will tell, though. But I got him sitting at 30 right now. At 29, I have Tommy Tremble of the Carolina Panthers. Now, maybe I put Tommy Tremble up a little bit too high, but I do like Tommy Tremble. I liked him out of Notre Dame. I thought he was going to be good. Never really gotten a fair shot, in my opinion, because, they had Ian Thomas who would cut into reps. But, it'll be interesting to see here. I really hope Tommy Tremble has a okay year. I don't think he's going to have a good year by any means because the wide receiver room is a little bit crowded. They did use a lot of draft capital there. But Tommy Tremble has a chance to put together pretty okay season. At 28, Will Dissly of the Chargers. Now, Will Dissly, he's not bad. He's actually okay. He does what you ask him to do. He's not a guy that's going to go out there and win you games, but I feel like he's a solid, 3 receptions, 30 to 40 yards type of guy that you can rely on. Not going to ask him to get in the end zone much. As you can see, last year he only got in twice, but overall pretty reliable and will fit in well in the Chargers as a good option behind Lab McConkey for Justin Herbert. At 27, another one of my guys, Chig Okonkwo for the Tennessee Titans. I like him a lot, and they do have a rookie quarterback, so that's why I have him at 27. If Cam Ward struggles, maybe he looks to the tight end a little bit more, and Chig has the chance to be, fantasy relevant. I play fantasy football, so that's kind of how I did it here. Would I be okay with one of these guys as my tight end? And Chig at 27 is one of the guys I would be okay with as a tight end. I don't mind him. I like him a lot. At 27, Noah Fant of the Seattle Seahawks. Noah Fant never really lived up to the hype. He's okay, but not really lived up to the hype that he had when he was drafted. They did go ahead and bring in another tight end through the draft, so I'm sure that'll cut into some reps. But Noah Fant, reliable, you know what you're going to get with him. He's not going to go out there and win you games, but if you do need a couple catches for probably 30, 40 yards a game, I'd be okay with that. Don't rely on him to get into the end zone, though. At 25, I have Juwan Johnson. Now, I feel like I hear every year that this is the guy, this is his year, he has a chance this year, but I really do like his chances this year with the Saints. They didn't really bring in any weapons offensively. In the receiving game, they have a rookie quarterback or Spencer Rattler, a second-year guy. So they got the young quarterback aspect of they might lean on the tight end a little bit more. And, they didn't really bring any other competition at the wide receiver position. As long as he can stay healthy, I kind of like his chances this year. At 24, Mike Gesicki of the Cincinnati Bengals. Mike Gesicki, similar to Will Dissly, you know what you're getting with him. He's not going to be a guy that goes out there and gets you in the end zone. Only had 2 last year, but he puts up a solid 65 receptions for 665 yards. I feel like he works really well as the third option after Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. So that's a good, reliable option for Joe Burrow. Once in a while has a good game. Just don't let him do the gritty. We have seen that before. 23, Tyler Higbee for the Rams. Now, I like Higbee. I think he's underrated. You did deal with injuries, so those numbers are down a little bit. And they did bring in another rookie that I think they traded up to get Ferguson from Oregon. So I do think that'll cut into his reps. But, Higbee, he's reliable. Underrated when healthy. Struggled a little bit last year because of injury, so didn't really have good numbers. So those numbers are a little bit rough. But 8 receptions and 2 touchdowns, that's pretty good. At 22, you got Hunter Henry for the New England Patriots. Now, the reason I like Hunter Henry is because after Stephon Diggs, there's really no receiving threat. Maybe you could say Pop Douglas. But as you can see last year, 66 receptions, 674 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That's a reliable tight end. They don't really have a lot of weapons. So, as long as Drake May takes that next step forward, Hunter Henry is still the starter there. There's really no new competition other than Stephon Diggs. But we know Diggs has had some injury issues as well. At 21, you got Kyle Pitts for the Atlanta Falcons. Now, I have Kyle Pitts at 21 because I'm tired of falling for the hype every year. This is Kyle Pitts' year. Kyle Pitts has a chance to be good. And he just never does. He never pans out. Did not live up to the hype when he was drafted in the first round. So, I got him at 21. He's got to earn his way back up in my book. I still think he's a good tight end. He's good. He's athletic. He's got a chance, but he does not produce on the field. So that's why I have him sitting at 21. Number 20, Zach Ertz for the Washington Commanders. Now, this is a good, reliable option for the Commanders and Jaden Daniels as a young quarterback. They did draft Ben Sinnott last year, so I would not be surprised if Sinnott gets a little bit more playing time, gets some more reps. But, if you take a look at the stats, he got into the end zone 7 times. I would take that from my tight end. That's a really good, reliable red zone threat. He is 6'5", so I'd hope he'd be a red zone threat. 66 receptions, 654 yards. Nothing to complain about there. Zach Ertz, kind of underrated. At 19, I have Pat Freiermuth for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Same thing here, like I just said about Zach Ertz. Main reason I have him higher is because Freiermuth's younger, but 65 receptions, 653 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Kind of underrated. Now, the Steelers didn't really add any more offensive weapons. They brought in DK, but lost Pickens. So I do think that Freiermuth would still probably be the second option receiving-wise in that offense. With Aaron Rodgers as the quarterback, he's made some tight ends reliable in the past, so that'll be something to watch. At 18, I have Tyler Warren of the Indianapolis Colts. Now, I think Tyler Warren's going to be good. I like him. I like how he's a gadget guy. You can line him up at center, line him up at running back, or not center, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, wherever you need him. He produced at Penn State. Problem is, he is a tight end, so he is going to, most of the time, there should be someone throwing him the ball, and I don't really like either of the quarterbacks throwing him the ball. Anthony Richardson hasn't proved it yet. We know what Daniel Jones is, so that's why I have him there, is mainly just who he's playing with. At 17, I have Colston Loveland of the Chicago Bears. I like Loveland this year more than Tyler Warren because of the coach and who they're playing with. There's a lot more options in Chicago to make it easier on him. You got to worry about Roma Dunze. You got to worry about DJ Moore. You got to worry about Luther Burden. You got to worry about Colston Loveland. And, they just brought in Ben Johnson, and I think he'll fix Caleb. And, he developed Sam Laporta, who's going to be earlier in this list. So, yeah, I like Colston Loveland this year. 16, Evan Ingram of the Denver Broncos. I like Ingram. I think he will work out well for the Denver Broncos. They were talking about needing a tight end before the draft. They went out and got Evan Ingram. He was cut by the Jags. The Jags are kind of just going through a rebuild. That doesn't mean Evan Ingram's washed. I still think Evan Ingram will be good. I think he'll be a good, reliable safety blanket for Bo Nix. That's something that they kind of were missing. It was a second option. I think Evan Ingram slides in well for the Broncos. At 15, Dalton Schultz for the Houston Texans. Dalton Schultz had a rough year. Dalton Schultz is good. Played really well with the Cowboys. Went to the Texans. Had a rough year. But overall, the Texans, they had a rough year in general. Stroud was hit more. The offense struggled. A lot of injuries. So I'm looking for a Dalton Schultz bounce-back year. Only 2 touchdowns. You would like to see him have more than that. The 532 yards you like more. Receptions, I'd be okay with 53, maybe a little bit more. At 14, I have Jonnu Smith of the Miami Dolphins. Now, you might be like, why is Jonnu Smith so low? He was really good towards the end of the year. 8 touchdowns, that's awesome. 88 receptions is awesome as well. 884 yards. Can't complain about that. Where I can complain is his blocking. He is a liability blocking, and, that is part of the job description as a tight end. You got to be able to do both. Jonnu Smith can only do one side, so I can't really bump him up more, mainly because I don't like his blocking. Next up at 13, David Njoku for the Cleveland Browns. I like Njoku. I think he's a top 10 guy, but we've seen last year it does depend on who he has at quarterback. And that's the big question for the Browns. Who's going to be their quarterback? No one knows yet. We don't know how it's going to fare out for David Njoku. So that's why I got him sitting at 13 is because of the uncertainty at quarterback play. But I do like Njoku. I think he's good. Big, strong tight end, receiving red zone threat. And I like him. I think he's got a good chance. At number 12, Cade Otton, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I like Otton a lot. He stepped in, filled in very well for Baker as a reliable target after Chris Godwin went down last year. 59 receptions, 600 yards on the dot, 4 touchdowns. The touchdowns are lacking a little bit. Yards are lacking a little bit. But like I said, he stepped up. I think he earned himself some more targets this year from Baker. Played really well when Godwin went down with an injury. So I like Cade Otton a lot this year. At 11, Jake Ferguson of the Dallas Cowboys. Ferguson had a down year. No touchdowns. Did deal with some injuries a little bit. The Cowboys overall just didn't really have a good year. So I can't fault that on him because I blame a lot of it on the run game. If you can't have a run game, it's going to be hard to do the pass because they're just going to drop back and know you're passing every time. Now, Rico Dowdle, he played all right, but definitely not the run game that we're used to for the Dallas Cowboys. I think that led to a lot of inconsistency for Jake Ferguson. At number 10, you got Dawson Knox, Dalton Kincaid for the Buffalo Bills. This is the first duo we have. Whoever you want to say is the starter, I really don't think it matters. These guys are both really good, both good receiving threats. You don't really lose too much. Maybe Kincaid's a better receiving threat, but Knox, he's definitely serviceable. He definitely, you could send him out there and be just fine. So I like that for the Bills. Not too much for fantasy because then you got to pick and choose which one you want. But next up, 9, Dallas Goedert, Philadelphia Eagles. Dallas Goedert, he's in a high-powered offense. Sadly, it is run first. He is one of the afterthoughts because, you got A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Honestly, I'd say Saquon's a better receiving option than Dallas Goedert. But Dallas Goedert, a little bit older, still a very reliable tight end. Still pretty good here. 42 receptions, almost 500 yards, 2 touchdowns. You like to see him get in the end zone a little bit more. But overall, I think Dallas Goedert is still a good option. At number 8, Travis Kelce of the Kansas City Chiefs. Travis Kelce, he's getting older. We've seen a little bit of a drop-off last year. 97 receptions, 823 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's definitely not the numbers we're used to seeing from Kelce. We know the Chiefs are spending more draft capital on wide receivers, and we're seeing them start to develop more receivers like Rashid Rice before he went down. Xavier Worthy had a pretty good year as the season went on, got involved more. So it'll be interesting to see if that takes away any targets from him because Kelce is getting older. Number 7, one of the most underrated tight ends in the entire NFL, Tucker Kraft of the Green Bay Packers. Take a look at these numbers. 50 receptions, 707 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Tucker Kraft is so underrated. He fits in well as one of the main options for Jordan Love. There's a lot of injuries at that wide receiver position. Tucker Kraft is a reliable, good tight end. Honestly, I would be okay with having him in fantasy. That might be the guy I eye up. Number 6, we got TJ Hawkinson of the Minnesota Vikings. Now, TJ did deal with a little bit of injuries last year. When he came back, he played really well. And with that rookie quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, starting, like I was saying, they tend to lean on the tight end a little bit more. Good safety blanket. He is one of the better tight ends in the NFL. So I'm looking for a big year from Hawkinson. I think that that high-powered Vikings offense, they got a ton of weapons. Hawkinson, Addison, Jefferson, I think he'll fit in well there and have a really good year. At number 5, you have the next duo, Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. Whoever you want to be the starter, I don't think the Ravens lose too much. Andrews is getting a little bit older. Likely, I believe, is a little bit younger, but they're both really good at receiving, both really good at blocking, in my opinion. So whoever you really want here, taking a look at the numbers, they're pretty similar. Maybe you could say Andrews was a little bit more productive. He was really carried by touchdowns, though. Number 4, you got Sam Laporta of the Detroit Lions. So Laporta, down year last year compared to his rookie season. Still had 7 touchdowns, though, so I'll take that. 60 receptions, 726 yards. Laporta's one of the best young tight ends in the NFL. Good, reliable safety blanket for Goff. He's honestly kind of the wide receiver, too, because Jameis Williams is kind of the deep threat guy. So I like Sam Laporta. I think he's good. I think he'll have a really good year this year. I'm looking for a bounce back year. At number 3, you got Trey McBride of the Arizona Cardinals. Now, taking a look at his numbers, everything's fine but touchdowns. 111 receptions. That was 4th in the entire NFL. 1,146 yards. That's 11th in the entire NFL. And only 2 touchdowns. We know that was an outlier. I'm looking for more touchdowns this year for Trey McBride. I think he works well with Marvin Harrison as a good option for Kyler Murray. So I'm looking for a good year for Trey McBride, potentially moving himself up the list a little bit higher. Number 2, George Kittle, San Francisco 49ers. George Kittle, 78 receptions, 1,106 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Now, Kittle, he's really good, productive offensively. This is probably one of his better years that I remember him having offensively. And he's a really good blocker. I can't argue that. Kittle, you want to argue with him at being a 1? I'd be okay with that. But the guy I have at number 1 is Brock Bowers. Reason being, taking a look at these numbers, 112 receptions, that's 3rd in the NFL. 1,194 yards, that's tied for 8th. 5 touchdowns, a little bit rough, but he was a rookie. He did all this as a rookie. He set records as a rookie. He was top 3 in receptions, top 10 in yards in the entire NFL. So what Brock Bowers does offensively, I just feel like it outweighs what Kittle does as a whole. Now, Kittle, much better blocker, but I would take Brock Bowers' offensive ability. Kittle kind of seems hit or miss a lot of weeks. He's either really good or really bad. But those are my rankings. So go ahead and comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know where you would put some guys. Let me know what you think I messed up on. This is opinion-based, so I'm sure you guys will have differing opinions as we've seen in the other videos. There's been some comments disagreeing with our stuff, so we like seeing that. Go ahead and comment down below. Let us know what you guys think. But when it comes to this video, that's all we got. So if you enjoyed, please remember to like and sub for more football content. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.